My wife didn't speak a single word to me for the first 4 months we dated. Last June, she stood up in front of 90 people and said her wedding vows out loud, and half that room was hearing her voice for the very first time. It started with my mother. Sunday dinner 2 years ago. She slid a slice of pie in front of me and said her friend Diane had a daughter. I told her I was done with setups. She said, "This one's different, just meet her. Nora doesn't talk much." Understatement of the decade. We met for coffee with both mothers present, which should have been a disaster. Nora was 28, worked at a plant nursery, had a laugh she did entirely with her eyes. She greeted me with a small wave and a note typed on her phone. "Hi, I'm not being rude. I just don't speak to people I've just met, or most people." Later, Diane pulled me aside in the parking lot. Something happened when Nora was 6. The family doesn't discuss it, so neither will I. And afterward, she didn't speak for almost 2 years. Therapy got her back to whispers with her mom and her sister. Everyone else got nods, notes, and that eye laugh. "The doctors told us she'll talk when she feels safe," Diane said. "We've been waiting 22 years for safe." I think she expected me to make a polite exit. Instead, I shrugged and said the only thing I felt, "That's fine. I've never trusted people who need to fill every silence anyway." Diane looked at me like I'd said something in a language she'd given up hoping to hear. So we dated in the quietest way you can imagine. I'd talk about my job, my terrible fantasy team, my grandfather's fishing stories, and she'd answer in raised eyebrows and squeezed hands and texts sent from 2 feet away. She took me through the nursery after hours and introduced me to every plant by name. We watched clouds from the hood of my car. We drove out past the county line to see stars, cocoa in a thermos, and I learned to read her like weather. Anyone watching would have thought I was talking to myself. I've never felt more heard in my life. Month 4, an ordinary Saturday. I showed up at the nursery with 2 coffees, and as I handed hers over, she looked up and said, "Good morning." 2 words. Rusty, barely above a whisper, like hinges that hadn't moved in years. Every alarm in my chest went off at once. I knew that if I made it a moment, it might close again. So I just said, "Morning." They were out of oat milk and kept walking toward the ferns. Then I sat in my car and cried like a child. Her voice came back the way spring does, unevenly, in patches. A sentence here, a whole story there, then 3 silent days, and that was fine too. The first time she ordered her own coffee, the barista had no idea what he'd witnessed, but her mother was with us, and Diane had to leave the shop to stand on the sidewalk and sob. People ask me what I did. Nothing. I didn't unlock anything. She did that. Her and the 20 years of work nobody saw. All I did was refuse to treat her silence like a problem that needed solving. She told me later, in her own time, that I was the first person who ever seemed happy with exactly the amount of her she could give. I proposed at our spot past the county line, under the stars, with cocoa going cold in the thermos. I'd planned a speech. I got 4 words in before she put her hand over my mouth and said, "Yes, obviously, yes." At the wedding, everyone assumed she'd nod through the vows or have the officiant read them. But when the moment came, Nora took the microphone. You could feel 90 people stop breathing. Aunts, cousins, childhood neighbors who had never once heard her speak. Her voice shook. She didn't stop. She thanked me for 2 things: never asking her to be louder and never loving her quieter either. There wasn't a dry eye in that field. Every year on the anniversary of that first good morning, we drive past the county line, lie on the hood, and watch the stars. Some years she talks all night. Some years she barely says a word. Both are perfect. Her doctors were right the whole time. She'd speak when she felt safe. I just never expected that safe would turn out to be a place we built together, 2 feet apart, in all that quiet.